Bunker play. It is an awesome thing to practice because there's carryover effect. Dave Pell showed in his studies that as bunker play increases, so does driving performance. How is that? It's because in bunker play, you need to have a good rhythm to the shot. You don't try to hit it. You're not trying to get distance. You're trying to get the ball up high and soft and onto the green. With driver, we often get this hit. So as we practice bunker play and develop this good rhythm, it carries over into other parts of our game. In 2008, I went from 83rd to 3rd in bunker play, doing one thing differently, and it wasn't technique. In Dave Pell's studies, he found that the average bunker play on tour, it took place from 10 yards. So I practiced exclusively from 10 yards, trying to get every shot inside that 3-foot circle. That's our goal. Get it inside the 3-foot circle where we know we can make the next putt. And my record was 28 in a row that I was able to get inside the 3-foot circle. I still try to do that every week. I try to break my record. Now, the questions I get asked are how far behind the ball should I hit? At what angle should I hit into the sand? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you continue the motion through the shot. You then will find the right spot to get the ball out. So we break our wrists early, just like the hinge and hold. And look at my hands. Look how high up into the finish they are. That's what's important in bunker play. The most critical element to bunker play is to continue your hands into the finish. Just like putting, just like chipping. We cannot stop our hands. We need to keep the leading edge and the bounce consistent as long as possible, just like out of the grass, just like chipping. But in the sand, it's even more critical because the bounce on the club will kick the leading edge up into the ball if we stop our hands and let the club keep going. We have to keep our hands and club traveling together at the same speed so we keep the leading edge and the bounce as consistent, as similar as possible for the longest period of time through impact. If you notice, my hands accelerate all the way up into the finish. Look where they are. They're not down here at impact. This did not count too, by the way. That doesn't count. You have to accelerate everything up into the finish. Developing this basic rhythm, this basic motion is the most critical element to being a good bunker player. You have to continue your hands into the finish. Now, once we have this basic motion down, it's very similar to chipping from off the green. In fact, we can practice our bunker play through chipping from off the green. We're keeping our ball position the same, off of the front foot. We're trying to get the ball high and soft, so what do? We open the face and then adjust our body. Just like when we open our face from off the green using the hinge and hold method, exactly the same. On a good lie, our weight and position will be fairly level, maybe slightly forward, and the ball will pop right on out, as long as we keep our hands moving into the finish. When we get to the fine-tuned shots around the bunker, uphill lies, fluffy sand, downhill lies, it's the same concept as what you've learned in the lob shot. When we have an uphill lie, or if the sand is fluffy, we know in the lob shot, if we put our weight forward and drive the club behind it, we go right underneath it. So what we have to do when we get lies like that that are fluffy or uphill, we have to set our weight back. We have to shallow out the bottom of the arc. This allows the ball to pop up nicely. We're not doing anything different in our setup. The ball position is the same. We're setting it up the same on uphill lies, the same on basic shots. When we get to a downhill lie, it is the same as a lob shot. If we keep our weight leveled out, what's going to happen? We're going to blade it. So we have to get our weight forward to be able to drive the club underneath the ball. This is where we move the ball fractionally forward in our stance, opening the face just like the lob shot, and we drive the club right behind the ball, popping it up high and soft. So the concepts of bunker play are identical to the fundamentals of what we're learning chipping. They all tie together. In the sand, we often get buried lies, and this is a very difficult shot to control. But there are things we can do to improve our chances and to control the ball somewhat. We're obviously not going to spin the ball out of this lie. Our hope is to get it up and control somewhat where it rolls out. It's going to have zero spin. This ball is plugged on an uphill lie. Now what I'm going to do here is I cannot finish high because the club will not get fully underneath the ball. All I can do is drive it just behind the ball and have the club stick into the ground. So I have to keep leading with my hands. I cannot let the club pass again. But what I want to do is I want to stick it into the ground as such. So the arm and the club stay in a straight line, and I'm just driving it right behind the ball. I'm opening the face. My weight is forward because we're trying to keep the club underneath the ball. The ball will get out. We just have to drive the club underneath. What we don't want to do is blade it, have our weight back where the leading edge comes up. We have to keep the leading edge down. So my weight is forward. I'm leaning into the hill. I drive it in. And if you notice, the ball popped up. But look, my arm and club are still in a straight line. My hands continued, but it just stuck into the ground. It stayed ahead of the club. I didn't stop my hands and let the club pass. You cannot get out of a buried lie doing that. Here's another buried lie. Same thing, uphill lie. I'm going to drive my weight forward into the ground, into the hill, and same thing, driving my hands forward, leading ahead of the club head so that the club and the leading edge will never pass my arm. And the ball pops out, almost goes in. Now here we have a downhill lie. Obviously this ball is not going to get up as high and as soft. It's going to release a little bit more. I'm going to go to a further pin just to let the ball run out. If I had a tight pin, there's not much you can do. You just have to try to get it out. But it's the same principles as the lob shot combined with this buried lie. We have our weight forward and we are not going to finish real high. We're going to stick it into the ground with my hand staying ahead of the club. You cannot get any of this. You'll blade it. The leading edge will never get under this ball that's way down in the sand. So the weight is really forward, ball is forward, and I'm driving it straight down into the ground. I'm actually not hitting it that hard. I'm not going to take this full swing because the ball's going to come out with no spin, so I have to play for that. So I'm just going to take a little shorter backswing actually on this downhill lie and let the ball pop up. And then it runs out.